Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Allie.
Welcome to our first women's comparison for 2021. I know we've done a ton of men's comparisons so far. As a quick note, and this actually came up in comments and some other stuff recently, pretty much a lot of women can ski men's skis. So even though we put like the gender signifier on these, it doesn't mean that like you can't also go to the other comparisons and learn a lot of good stuff, and maybe you'll find a ski in there that kind of speaks to you. So just a quick note on the gender of skis is, in many ways, a woman has a lot of choices because you have all these women's specific skis and then you've got all the men's skis too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and some of the skis actually use the same construction.
Yeah, a lot of these, and actually I'll point them out as we go through, is a lot of these actually use the same construction as men's. So today we're going to look at all mountain skis kind of hovering around the 90 millimeter waist width. All of these are pretty darn versatile. You know, you can ski them around the whole mountain, but there are some cool differences between them. So yeah, I think just get started. And what's the first ski over there, Allie?
All right, our first ski today is the Armada Victa 87 Ti. This is a great ski for a wide range of skiers. It's got Kevlar struts and it does have a Titanal laminate, but don't let that Titanal discourage you. I find it to be one of the most approachable skis with that Titanal in the construction. Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the construction?
Yeah, it's a pretty darn cool ski. And I think you're right. You know, when it comes to skis with metal, this one's one of the lighter weight skis. Just having it in my hands, it's pretty darn light. You know, if I was to pick up like a Kenja or something, or a Stance or something like that, this is noticeably lighter. I think what keeps coming up on this ski is the way that they're kind of blending stability and power from metal with responsiveness and quickness. I always go back to Danielle Nichols skiing this in our ski test, and she was like blown away. And the footage of her, which I will include because it's this ski, it's a different graphic. But she's just making like really quick responsive turns, and I think a lot of that is coming from the way that they kind of blend materials in this ski. You know, carbon gives a ski a lot of energy, a lot of responsiveness, so it all kind of adds up to a ski with really good edge grip, but something that's also a little bit more forgiving too.
And Jeff was also pointing out to me earlier that they only do a cap construction on the tops and the bottoms, and that makes just that tips and tail a little bit, easier to flex torsionally, allowing you to get a little bit more forgiveness in the tips and the tails. So, a hard-charging girl like Danielle can still carve a great turn on this, but an intermediate to an advanced skier would still have a lot of fun out there. You could pop in the trees, and you'd have a great time being able to wiggle your way around.
Yeah, really fun, really precise ski, and I think it's important to note that an intermediate can ski that without any problems.
Our next ski is the Blizzard Black Pearl 88. It's another very approachable ski from that upper intermediate to expert skier. They use their True Blend technology, which is just a blend of wood that makes it kind of torsional stiff, but it doesn't use any metal in here. So it is a more forgiving ski for that, intermediate getting to more advanced level. I think it's a great stepping stone ski. It's got a more forgiving tail, and the side cut, it really allows you to get into that turn easily. It's going to actually make you turn when you get on edge.
Yeah, super versatile ski. I don't often throw out like sales stats and stuff like that in these comparisons, but this is the most popular women's ski in the world by quite a lot. And I think that is because it's so versatile and because it's so approachable. It's another ski just like that Victa that an intermediate can ski, and then you could put like Michaela Schifrin on here or something, and like they're still gonna have fun. That True Blend wood core is new for 2021. It's really cool. They've also we have one extra length for 2021 compared to previous years, and it's all designed together. That True Blend and the extra lengths. So each length has a different mock-up of True Blend. So you get it's really cool how they do it, but there's strips of denser wood and they put them in different spots of the ski depending on length. So the longer skis are going to be stiffer, better for a more advanced or just bigger skier. And then the shorter lengths are softer flexing, which is surprisingly the opposite of a lot of skis, like traditional ski construction. If you do the same thing in every length, the shorter length is going to be stiffer, which is just wrong. If you think about the size of the person that would be choosing that length or the ability level. So pretty cool how they've taken this ski, retained the approachability and the forgiveness and all the things that have made it really, really good, but then they're kind of like custom tweaking each length to work better for that specific skier.
I also think that they made their top sheet this year a little bit more approachable. It's a little less girly as some of the brands go about. So saying that this is one of the most popular skis out there, they just did it even further with making this top sheet a little bit more unisex in color and in style. Another great ski, though, we're going to talk about is the Blizzard Sheeva 9. And I do want to show these next door to each other because the Sheeva is in the same Blizzard family, but we're talking about more of a frontside carver and more of a playful all-mountain ski. Jeff, why don't you tell us about the construction of that?
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And I think that everything that you just said is certainly true. But what makes this ski pretty unique is it's also using more metal than the Black Pearl, so you get like more rocker in the tips and tails and more metal. So it's more playful and kind of designed for more like free ride all mountain skiing, so to speak, or has more free ride influence in its shape. But then because it has metal underfoot, and remember the Black Pearl doesn't have any metal, it kind of feels more demanding than that ski. So I often say with the Sheeva 9, and it's like the opposite with the men's skis, because if you go Rustler to Brahma, there's way more metal in the Brahma, but with the women's skis, there's more metal in these. So it actually requires a higher level skier, which kind of makes sense, because chances are if you're looking in this realm of skis, you're thinking like, I want a fun, adventurous ski that I can take anywhere on the mountain, as opposed to an intermediate who's probably spending more time on trail still, or at least is like kind of just getting into off-trail situations, which the Black Pearl is really good at. This kind of takes it to another level. While that metal is providing more vibration damping, more stability, but also it's a little more demanding. And you could say fatiguing, too, for an intermediate.
Yeah, when I skied it, I definitely noticed these differences. I particularly like the Black Pearl a little bit more just because I like to finish out my turns and carve a little bit more. This is still an aggressive ski that I can get on edge, but it is someone that maybe likes to slap or swoosh their tails a little bit more, someone who's got a little bit more technique to go outside the carving and kind of get into some more complicated terrain.
Yeah, good for different styles of turns, so to speak.
All right, the next ski, which is one of the most different skis on this wall, I find shape-wise, is the Dynastar Pro 90. It's a great ski for a frontside carver. It's got their rocket Titanol frame in there. If you can see it on the camera, you will literally see a rocket shape coming through here, and it also goes through the tail down at the bottom, down here. So it does not have metal in the top part of the tips and the tails, which makes it a little bit more forgiving. But I do find that the Dynastars run stiff. It's a great frontside carver because of that stiffness.
Yeah, my favorite term to describe these skis, I don't know if Bob is the first one to use this, but Bob's been throwing this around, is their reverse mullet skis. So they're party in the front and business in the back. Which is a really, really good way to think about it. This tip shape does really good in soft snow, and the tip shape can be really playful. But yeah, it's a lot of ski back here. And another thing that makes this ski unique, when we were talking about the Black Pearl, and you mentioned like it'll basically take you into a turn. This ski doesn't really do that because of this aggressive taper shape in the tip. So when you tip it on edge, it's not feeling like it just wants to carve. You have to kind of drop your hip towards the snow and initiate that turn yourself, which is really cool because it lets you ski how you want to ski. But I also, that also means that you need to be a relatively skilled skier and able to make a ski do different things. But yeah, really cool ski. It's really cool how they're blending versatility, soft snow performance, and maneuverability in the tip with like a powerful, powerful tail. Which is, we did this comparison with the men's skis too. If you flip a Mindbender upside down, that's basically what you get. So a Mindbender, and we'll get to this ski, is not reverse mullet. It's kind of
a mullet.
Traditional mullet ski, where there's more wider metal in the tip and less in the tail, which is totally the opposite of this ski.
What I found while skiing this is that, you know, the tips are shaped so that you can kind of go over those crud or that pushed off snow when you're on
really
trail.
good for that.
It's really good for that, but it also requires you to really finish that turn. It's not someone who likes to swoosh out their turns. That hardtail really wants you to complete that full edge turn.
Yep.
But there is a little bit more forgiveness in that beginning shape. As he said, it doesn't push you on edge.
Yep.
Our next ski in our lineup is the Elan Ripstick 88. The Elan has some really amazing technology in this ski that I'm actually going to let Jeff talk about.
Sure,
but
happy
something
to.
that's really great about it is they do have a left and a right edge, and that is because of the construction. So, Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, Elan's Ripstick skis are really cool. You know, if you watch our comparison videos, then you've seen us talk about it a lot. We have some full-length reviews of Ripstick skis too. The biggest thing, or I think one of the key elements of this ski is how they use carbon. So they have carbon in three-dimensional tubes that run from tip to tail. So there's no metal in this ski. It's really, really light. It's easily one of the lightest skis up here. That lack of metal gives it a very energetic, maneuverable, lightweight feel. But three-dimensional carbon has different properties than two-dimensional carbon. So if you were to put just a traditional like laminate of carbon in here, which they actually have now, or partial laminates.
Partial.
But if you were just to do that, the ski would be a lot more pingy. You often hear that term with carbon skis or very, very light skis that use a lot of carbon, is they're so responsive that they can feel kind of twitchy. These carbon tubes have really, really good vibration damping. So you get like really good playfulness, and it's lightweight. It's not a stiff flex by any means, so you get a lot of like ability to kind of manipulate the ski's flex and pop and jump and play, but you still get really, really good edge grip too. So
I found that these skis were one of the most approachable skis on this wall
Totally.
for a wide range of skiers. One, the tip shape, again, like we talked about with the previous ski, this is very different. It's going to help you get in that turn. It really helps initiate it, get you on edge. And because of its lightweightness, it's going to be forgiving, less fatiguing throughout the day. I would put my mom on it. I would enjoy skiing this. And Daniel Nichols, our hard-charging ex-racer, would also love this ski.
yeah, I mean, I don't really
performs
like
well.
to give superlatives to skis. We rarely do that, but it's definitely up there among the most versatile skis in this comparison, easily.
Moving to our next ski is the Fischer Ranger 90 Ti. This is the women's version. They do use a Titanol laminate in here, which does make the ski a little bit stiffer, but they have a great shape that makes it approachable. It's not meant for the intermediate. It is definitely geared more towards an expert skier looking to really go everywhere on the mountain. With that Titanol in there, you're going to be able to carve on an icy day, on trail, and you're also, because of the shape and the shovel and the rocker profile, you're going to be able to pop into the woods and the bumps and be able to play.
Yeah, it's one of the wider skis up here, but you know, if we were to like take out all those skis that are 92 or wider, this is probably the most demanding and the most aggressive. They do have a pretty stiff flex in the tail, especially. You know, Fischer has an FR version of their Rangers too. I did consider putting the 90 or the Ranger 94 FR in this comparison too. Unfortunately, we're pretty much limited to 18 skis. That's the width of the wall. So I opted to put it out, but you get a lot of the same Ranger performance in that ski, just more forgiveness out of the tail. This is really good for somebody who values soft snow performance, who probably spends a significant amount of time off trail, but also wants something that feels stable and powerful with good edge grip.
I wouldn't want to put anyone but an expert or advanced skier on this because of that Titanol. Someone who can really handle that edge grip and that stiff tail. But one last thing to point out is how nice and narrow their tips are. So what they do, Fischer and almost all of their Rangers, they reduce the swing weight in the tip so that when you do get into trees, if you decide to take it in trees, you'll be able to maneuver easily with your swing weight in the tips.
Yeah, they put a skin attachment on the tail of these things, which, you know, that's just interesting to me, and it's pretty similar to how you just described the tip. Is although they're pretty powerful skis, they're still pretty darn lightweight.
Yeah.
And they can be a fun touring ski if this kind of speaks to what you want to do out there.
Our next ski in the lineup is the Head Core 87. This ski has some really unique construction. Again, I'm going to defer to Jeff on this one because it has a lot of unique words that Head uses in their construction. But what it basically does is makes a super light, responsive ski for any lady that's kind of got a classic technique of skiing. It's going to hold an edge and it's going to be really fun all day without fatiguing your legs. So Jeff, tell us about the construction because it really is unique.
Yeah, Caruba, Choroid, Graphene. Those last two are terms that you don't hear very often. Caruba is a lightweight wood, kind of like bamboo. So they start with that, and then they add all these like synthetic materials in here to give it the. I think it's fair to say to give it the stiffness and the power that you'd expect from a ski that's metal. We talk about this all the time with these core skis, is they're impressively stiff. So you get like really good firm snow performance and, like you said, a lot of responsiveness. And I think that's an important characteristic to point out, is that these kind of lean more towards the quickness, responsiveness side and less of the vibration damping smoothness side. But it's still just as stiff. So holds an edge really well. But these things are super, super nimble because they're so light. Head doesn't use a top sheet, which always feels weird to say because then what's this? But they don't use a traditional top sheet material, which is one of the reasons why this is so light. It's basically the material that's normally right under the top sheet is this. So lightweight, but holds an edge well, and really, really nimble. I think... Again, I don't like to give superlatives, but I'm finding myself doing it right now. That might be the best mogul ski up here because of the way that it's shaped. You get, especially tail shapes, which if you flip that one over for me, you get more taper in the tail of the core than, most other skis on this wall, and that's where a lot of the quickness comes from, in addition to just being super lightweight.
So the reason I grabbed the Black Pearl is because these two don't have metal in them, so I do like to kind of talk about them side by side. As we said, this head core isn't going to be as approachable as the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
They both don't use metal in their construction, but because of the shape and the stiffness of the head core, it's going to be geared towards more an aggressive skier who really does like that responsive feel under their legs, where that Black Pearl is going to be a little bit more approachable for a wide variety of skiers.
Yeah, let me see the Black Pearl real quick. I mean, the flex pattern in this thing is wildly different.
Yeah.
Especially in the tail. You gotta remember where they all go. It gets confusing.
It does. Our next one, we're moving on to the K2 Mindbender 90C, which is their carbon version of their Mindbender for women's.
Really, I think we can just talk about both of these skis at the same time. They're basically the same shape. Have you skied both of these, Allie?
I don't think I skied the Titanol. I only did the carbon.
Well, anyways, they're basically the same exact shape. They're both versatile all-mountain skis, and the difference is in the construction.
Yeah, so the 90 actually just has carbon, where the Titanol has their Y-frame Titanol, and you can actually see it kind of raised above here, so it gives you a little bit more edge grip and stiffness and torsional stiffness through the tips and the tails. There is a little bit more of a binding reinforcement on the Titanol, so it's going to be more of an aggressive ski. It's going to be geared more towards that icy on-piste conditions, or more of an aggressive, strong athlete, where this Mindbender 90 is going to be a little bit more approachable for a wider range of ladies looking to kind of take it on trail, off trail, and really get in and out there and have some fun in any condition that they're approaching.
Yeah, like I started with, they're both very versatile all mountain skis. The shape, it lets you take it anywhere, and it's really just the conversation that we've kind of been having since the start of this is just basically whether you want metal or not. This ski is going to be heavier, it's going to have more vibration damping, it's going to have more stability at speed, but it's more tiring and it's more demanding. So these are all things to take into consideration when you're choosing a ski. I think it's really, really common. I actually think women do a better job with this than men, especially on the men's side. Men have all these egos and stuff, and between two skis like this, a lot of people just want to go that one has metal, so that one's better, and I should get that one. But I always try and emphasize how good these are, and it's basically the same thing. I don't know if you mentioned how they do the weave of carbon, but you know, they're putting metal along the edges in this ski and then through the middle of the tail. And it's basically the same with the carbon. And this is called spectral braid. And the weave of the carbon, which will be harder to see than the metal, is tighter in the forebody of the ski and then looser in the tail. So it's the same idea. You get more torsional stiffness up here, so you can drive a turn in this part of the ski, and then you get more edge release and more forgiveness out of the tail of the ski. And it's really, again, I mean, it's broken record, but it's really just whether you want carbon or metal. Vibration damping, stability, weight, energy, poppiness, springy flex pattern, all that kind of stuff. I actually, when I was writing this, I came to the wall and was flexing both of them. The flex patterns aren't like drastically different. You know, this still has like a pretty easy going flex pattern. It's really just the feel, whether you want like a more quiet metal ski or a more springy, poppy, energetic carbon ski.
And the construction of skis without metal these days is just getting better and better. They're really just improving the technology that carbon weave in there. You know, it's still allowing that torsional stiffness where you need it. And as he said, it's just going to feel a little different. But it really depends on where you want to go. I don't like to say East Coast versus West Coast, but it really depends on what kind of conditions you like to ski in. I would find that this one would be a more West Coast ski, someone that's never hitting ice, where you would still have fun out west on the Tetonal version, but you would definitely prefer this probably on East Coast icy slopes here.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonably fair thing to say.
All right, we're going to move on to the Liberty Genesis 90. It's a great lightweight, responsive ski. Liberty does some unique features in their construction of their wood. They use poplar and bamboo, which is very light. It's different than I feel a lot of the skis on this wall. It performs very responsibly for not having metal in there.
Yeah.
And it's a great all-mountain ski. You know, it's got a nice rocker, tip rocker, and tail rocker that's going to allow you to release those tails and get in the bumps and have some fun. But it also still holds a really nice edge and is responsive when you're on piste and on trail. Why don't you talk a little bit more about this construction?
Sure. I think I'll just take that and talk about shape too, because I think shape's a cool conversation with this ski. It's kind of the closest thing we have up here to a twin tip. I hesitate to really call it a twin tip, but it's close. And it's just like super, super quick, super agile. Really, really fun in moguls, really fun in trees. I have like jaw-dropping footage of Christy Brown skiing this ski, and you know, she's a very, very high-level skier, spends a lot of time on skis with metal. But it's really fascinating to put somebody like that on a ski like this and watch what they can do with it. And it's testament to like how many people would have fun on something like this. So I think this is another ski kind of like the Mindbender 90C. It's like easy for an advanced level skier to look at something like this and look at the features and how it's built and think like that's probably not for me. But skis like this are so much fun. They're easy to maneuver. They have just like incredibly easy edge release and just so much quickness and so much energy that there's a lot of benefits to a ski like this, especially if you're like not super confident in the trees or the moguls or something like that and you want to get better at that. This ski will make you feel confident and let you grow, as opposed to a stiffer ski where you're just going to kind of be fighting it the whole time.
I think it's probably the ski that got the most surprised reaction in our ski test with aggressive ladies getting on it. You know, we talked about a no-metal ski. A lot of these ladies kind of laugh at us, oh, I won't like that. And they came down and they had so much fun on it because it is so responsive. And Jeff is totally right. You take this into the woods, you're going to get a lot better. That tail shape, it's not too turned up. It's not a twin tip, but it is definitely forgiving in the tails. You're going to be able to really have fun and get into every condition that you want to with a 90 waist.
Yep. And bamboo is sustainable.
Yes, it is. Our next one is the line Pandora 94. It's another lightweight construction ski, all mountain. It's got another nice fun tail shape to it that's going to allow you to release in those trees. It's forgiving because it is so light. It definitely has a very similar shape to some of the skis that we're talking about up here with that tip shape that's going to get you on edge and you're going to be able to carve. But I find this to be one of the more fun skis up here. Again, it's very similar to the Liberty where it's just going to be fun and responsive. And just about anyone can get on it in the intermediate, advanced intermediate, expert. Again, another very surprising ski. For those expert hard charging ladies, they came back and were just super impressed with its responsiveness.
Yeah, Line puts some carbon stringers in this ski. It's actually basically the same construction that they use on the men's sick day skis, which are kind of designed for people that want like a lightweight freeride ski. And then as you get narrower, it becomes more of like a lightweight all mountain ski. But at 94 underfoot, it is, it's easily one of the best in soft snow up here. So if you're looking in this all mountain range, but you as a skier, you kind of lean more towards soft snow, or that's what you like to be doing, or that's your style of skiing, this is a really, really good choice. And I was going to say it about the last ski too, but like you could slap an Alpine touring binding on here and have a really versatile setup. We get a lot of people on the men's side putting touring bindings on the sick days, and I think that's pretty much why Line made this ski the way they did. It is in the same intention, but for women.
And I hate to say East Coast versus West Coast. This is a great, East Coast fun, softer snow conditioned day, but it's a very versatile for West Coast skiers that have more generally softer days out there.
Yeah, sure.
And they're just going to be able to take it everywhere on those large mountains.
Right, like if you're cruising Breckenridge, you're probably not running into tons of really firm snow. And I would say that is, if you're pointing out a limitation of a ski, like on a really icy day, it would do okay. But like taking this down icy firm lift line at Stowe would be like a little nerve-wracking.
A little chattery, a little bouncy.
Yeah, but then on like a softer snow day, if you're just spending the whole day in the woods at Stowe, you'd have an absolute blast.
And your legs would not be screaming at you at the end of the day with that light wetness. All right, next is the Santa Ana
88.
Thank you, Jeff. Sorry.
That's okay.
Santa 88.
There's five of them now, so yeah. No need to apologize.
It's one of my favorite skis up here because they use a terrain-specific metal. Basically, they just created a thinner sheet of metal under here, and it depends on the size that you're getting of the thinness of the metal in the ski. And the reason they do that is that when you really want to be on edge and it's a carving ski, they're going to have a little bit more torsional stiffness, a little bit more thicker metal. And as they go up in waist width, they're going to reduce that metal and make it a little bit more forgiving and allow you to release that turn and have a little bit more of a playful turn.
Yeah, really, really good skis. I think what I really like about how Nordica has designed these skis, and I say this also about the Enforcers, is they've taken the proven performance of metal and kind of repackaged it in like a more freeride influenced shape. So you get more tip rocker in this ski than something like the Kenja 88 that we're going to end with. So like this ski is a really good comparison to the Kenja 88. They're both like pretty darn powerful, good edge grip, good vibration damping, nice and stable at speed. Definitely something that an advanced and expert level skier would really enjoy skiing. I just feel like you get a little bit more versatility out of this shape and a touch of forgiveness, but emphasis on touch, because there is still, even though they kind of took metal out of it for 2021, there's still a significant amount of metal in there. So, I think an intermediate skier could ski this, but it's one of those things where, like, if you're an intermediate and you're choosing this ski, you should probably be pretty athletic.
I agree with Jeff. It's definitely not the most approachable ski on this wall, but because of that shovel shape, you're definitely going to be able to go over the crud when you hit it at the end of the day. Everyone's pushing off everything on the sides. So it's a little bit more approachable than the Kenja, but with the metal in there, it is geared towards more of an expert lady or more athletic lady who can handle that strongness and power underneath you. All right, next in our lineup, we have Rossignol's brand new Stargazer. It's in their BLACKOPS series, and they've done some really amazing technology in here. They've really made a smooth, feeling, stable ski that's a little bit more playful than their Experience line. I find it to be a little bit more approachable for a wider range of ladies that are looking to not just ski on trail, but get in the woods and in the bumps.
Yeah.
Again, we talk about that shovel shape. It's going to go over everything. They've got great technology in their tips that make them super lightweight and dampening, that you're going to be able to swing that ski around when you get into the trees.
Yeah, they're really cool. I think this is a brand new line of skis for Rossignol. Well, not brand new, but they've basically taken what was a really small kind of niche-y BLACKOPS thing and turned it into a big line of all-mountain and freeride skis. This is they're different, but it's safe to say that this is the direct replacement for the Sky 7. That ski was always known for its soft snow, off-piste performance, how well it did in trees, just how quick and maneuverable it was. And the negative reaction that they got to that ski was edge grip and stability. So basically Rossignol took performance that people liked, took the criticisms, and this is the result. So it's still lightweight. When you're riding a flat ski, it's still very maneuverable because you still get like plenty of rocker. But because there's less taper than that Sky 7 had, I kind of wish we had one up here. Less taper means longer effective edge. So when you're like tipping it up in a high edge angle, the ski there's more metal touching the snow. There's more edge contact. So you get more edge grip and responsiveness and stability and stuff like that while still retaining the playfulness that made that Sky 7 what it was.
And I think that a lot of that does come with the tails too here, that a long effective edge you can kind of see, and it doesn't turn up as much as some close to twin tip or full rocker tails. So it definitely does have a longer effective edge. I did find them to be able to carve even on icier days. I still had fun on these. The dampness in them makes them feel really smooth to ski.
Yeah, Rossignol's using a lot of rubber in their skis now, which gives them a distinctly damp feel.
All right, next in our lineup is the women's Rossignol Experience 88 Ti. Very different than the ski that we just talked about. It does use a Titanol in there, and it also uses their true line technology, which basically just adds torsional stiffness to the ski, but they definitely reduce the weight in the tips by using their air technology. This is a frontside carver. This is for someone maybe going in the bumps in the trees once in a while, but mainly someone that's looking to ski on the trail. It's going to be able to hold an edge very beautifully with the Titanol in there and their true blend. Rossi really, they're the only ones kind of doing this true line, and I feel the difference when I ski them on how it holds an edge just with the torsional stiffness.
Yeah, so it's basically like trickle down from their race skis. So what Allie's talking about with this line control thing, there's a vertical laminated strip of metal. And Bob and I talked about this recently. Like, just imagine if you had a long, thin sheet of metal that was like that wide. And like, when I say thin, I mean really, really thin, like 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters. Like, imagine what that would feel like. If you took that sheet of metal and did this, the whole thing would just be like floppy, 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 floppy. But then imagine taking that same sheet of metal and then cutting like 1 centimeter out of it. So you have the same thickness metal, but you now have 1 centimeter of width, and then flip that up on its side and try and bend it this way. Like, that metal, the properties of metal is it's not going to bend as much. So that's basically what Rossignol's doing in their ski. There's less metal, but it's positioned vertically, so it's not flexing as much as a horizontal sheet of metal. Bob's favorite thing to do with these is to point out their counterflexing. So that's one of the designs of these. Is line control is basically referring to the ability to keep the ski connected to the snow. Basically, if you like used a really high-speed camera and you film the tips of a ski when they're in a carving turn, there's all these subtle bounces, and every time the ski bounces off the snow, you lose a little bit of your line control. So by having the ski not counterflex, it's staying on the snow longer, which gives you kind of just a more precise feel. And yeah, I think when you said more of a frontside carver, I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say on the women's side. Rossignol uses the same construction for their men's and their women's skis like we talked about at the beginning of this. this ski for men, if you're a heavier person, if you're up in the like 180, 200-pound category, it kind of changes personalities and turns into like more of a forgiving all-mountain ski that's versatile. But if you're 150 pounds or less, like you and I, it does feel stiffer for a lighter weight skier. So I think it's fair to say on the women's side, it kind of falls into a more aggressive category.
It's definitely more approachable than the Kenja, but it's definitely going to have a little bit more aggressiveness than the head core.
Yeah, that's a good way to kind of put it in between two skis.
All right, we've got the Salomon Stance 88, which is new this year. So I'm going to have Jeff take off on the technology part of this.
Yeah, so a lot of similarities between this ski and the Kenja. In fact, if you want to just pull the Kenja out right now, we'll just kind of do these last 4 skis. Well, no, we'll touch on the Kenja on its own at the end. But a lot of similarities between these two skis. We've talked about this throughout the whole line. Like the Mantra 102 is pretty darn similar to the Stance 102 on the men's side, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically what Salomon did, and here you can take this ski back and give me the QST. What Salomon did is they set out to design a ski that would complement this ski. So this ski, which we'll talk about in a second, is more geared towards soft snow, more freeride influence in its design, more maneuverability. These use more metal, and they're designed for powerful on-trail performance. So 2 sheets of metal in this thing, and then on the top sheet of metal, Salomon actually takes out a little window here, which is similar to what we're going to see with Volkl. And it basically just takes some weight out. You get the benefits of metal with less weight. That's a conversation that we have all the time. But these things are pretty darn powerful. I would say this is the most demanding or second to most demanding ski on this wall, with the Kenja being the other one. They're pretty heavy. They're fairly stiff. You're getting a lot of vibration damping, a lot of power. But it's not going to be the most forgiving thing if you're looking to like take it into moguls and maneuver it around and stuff like that. But really, really good for an advanced, expert, aggressive lady skier.
Yeah, I'll just back that up. Again, aggressive skier, someone who's really staying on trail and wants to carve. You're going to be able to make a lot of turn shapes with this ski. And again, we talk about that tip shape. It's going to get you on edge, and you're going to be able to hold that edge. But as he said, it is definitely geared towards the upper level expert skiers, as in this lineup that we've talked about.
Yeah, we had like a test day with Salomon. I wasn't there because I had a broken collarbone at the time, but I've seen all the footage, and you guys were testing that ski and the wider model too, and there was a lot of soft snow, and you could tell that it required more skier input and was more tiring than if you were on this ski.
I definitely got more exhausted on that ski because as he said, it was a softer day, so it was definitely not as forgiving, and I had to use a lot more of my power to make the turns that I wanted to.
Yeah. Which
is a great segue into the next Salomon QST 92 Lux, which is their women's version of the QST. Again, it's similar. It's the same construction as last year's version. They've just changed the top sheet, but they've made a much more approachable, lightweight frontside carver that you'll be able to kind of take off-piste in the trees and the moguls and the bumps and have a lot more fun, because it's going to be a little bit more responsive and playful under your feet. They use a lot of technology that makes it damp and smoother ride than you're going to feel on that Stance. The Stance, you're going to really feel everything under your foot, where this is going to kind of take the impact a little bit more.
Yeah, softer flex pattern. They put flax in there. I think if you were it's an interesting conversation to have, because if you were to ski a groomer at 60 miles an hour, the Stance would feel smoother. Mm-hmm. But in general, everyday skiing, yeah, I think what you're saying, there's a lot of truth to that. Like the skis like the Stance can feel jarringly stiff, I often say, and this is just a lot smoother in its flex pattern, sort of. So yeah, it's kind of
it's more approachable,
acting like suspension in a way. But yeah, probably one of the best soft snow skis up here. I think the Sheeva is really good. I think that Pandora is really good. There's a number of them that are really good soft snow skis. This might be the best in powder. I think this is one of the wider tips, and it's also a nice long rocker profile, so you get a lot of float out of this ski. We see people putting alpine touring bindings on these all the time. very, very, very well-rounded all-mountain skis. If you were to have one pair of skis, I don't care where in the country you live, if you're just going to buy one pair of skis and you want to do a little bit of everything, these QSTs are great, and they have been for a while.
Yeah, we kind of call it the everyman ski down in customer service because it is just so approachable for a wide range of skiers skiing East Coast, West Coast. It really isn't cornered into one of those areas, which is what's great about it.
Yep.
All right, another new ski this year out by Volkl is the Blaze.
94.
Thank you, because there's a couple Blazes. So this is the Blaze 94. And they've done some great technology in here. You can kind of see the construction through the top sheet. Again, I'll have Jeff follow up with the technical terms in here, but they do have a nice binding reinforcement. This is a great approachable ski, something different than we've seen from Volkl. We talk about the Kenja a lot being a very aggressive ski. This is a ski that they needed in their lineup. A lot of women were seeking this from Volkl, and they came out with it this last year.
Yep.
It still holds an edge, but it's a little bit more forgiving. It's lightweight. It also just has a great shape to it that allows you to get in that turn and into any kind of condition that you want. Jeff, take it off.
Yeah, really, really similar conversation to what we just had with Salomon. So, you know, how we talked about the Stance differing from the QST, this Blaze differs from the Kenja. And I actually think it's like a bigger difference between this and the Kenja, because this is actually significantly lighter than those QSTs. Again, to go back to superlatives that I don't like to give out, and this one's tricky because it's actually there's an actual answer to it. I think this is the lightest ski up here. If it's not, it's really, 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 really close. And it's another one that's really good in soft snow. So lightweight wood core, there's actually some like synthetic material, I forget what they call it, iso core I think, in the middle. So that takes the weight down even more. So lightweight wood with a synthetic strip in the middle, it's really light. I think pretty sure this is rubber up in the tips and the tails. I don't know why, I can't remember exactly what that is, but I'm pretty darn sure it's rubber. So you get some of that rubber vibration damping in the tips and in the tails. And then, yeah, Allie was mentioning that binding plate underfoot. And it's actually quite a bit different than most companies when they put a plate in for binding retention. Usually it's just for binding retention. This one's specifically designed to provide some performance too. So it gets like almost like a mini Sheeva extension. You know, there's a little bit of metal that juts out into the forebody and into the tail, and then it actually extends all the way to the edge where your bindings go. So you get super, super light tips and tails, really, really light swing weight, a ton of maneuverability, a ton of soft snow performance, but some decent bite and grip underfoot. So it's kind of still, you know, when I talk about Volkl skis, I often just talk about their general feel. All of Volkl skis tend to have this very precise feel. You know, it's like knife-like performance in a lot of their skis and how they hold an edge and stuff like that. This part of the ski is 100% Volkl. You know, it still feels like a Volkl, but then the tips and tails are much more forgiving than most skis in their line. And it's just a really, really, really valuable addition to what Volkl is offering for just across the board for men and for women. These Blaze skis are really nice to have because they're basically the polar opposite to what Volkl already has in their overall feel, the weight especially.
And I want to point out, he said a lot of performance in soft snow, but because of that reinforcement under the binding that is really used for edge control, you will be able to hold an edge on icier conditions. There's a lot of people in Stowe skiing on this and having a great time. I've spoken to a lot of ladies that just weren't really into the Kenjas. They're a little too aggressive for them, and they're really having a lot more fun on this. They replaced the Aura, which was a very aggressive full metal. Was it full metal?
Yeah, I mean, you're going down an interesting path here.
Okay, then I won't go down it.
And whether we argue that this replaces the Aura or if the...
They got rid of the Aura, and they made a much better option for ladies. Let's put it like that.
Really, this ski is replacing the 98.
Oh, that's what I was saying.
But... Yeah, no, it's everything that you're saying is true. The ski that it directly replaces doesn't really matter.
It's more that ski that ladies were looking for from Volkl, and they produced it for them, and those ladies are so excited. I see them all the time, and they are just so excited to be on this ski because it's something that they've been looking for a couple years.
No, and that's kind of the important takeaway on this ski is, I have, like you said, and I'm basically just going to say the same exact thing. I've talked to a lot of women that were skiing the Secret 92 and are going to continue to ski the Secret 92, but a lot of them are going to buy this ski too, so they have like the option of like, oh, is it just like a firm snow groomer day? I'll take my Secret and just like rip carving turns at high speeds all day. Oh, we got some fresh snow? Let me take this Blaze so I'm not working so hard in the woods. You know, it's just a more playful, kind of fun skiing experience.
We see a lot of people actually using it for uphill as well as just as their pure downhill ski.
Yep. Great one. Great choice for a towing
I'm going to leave this one out, but our last ski on our lineup is the Kenja 88, which uses Volkl's nice technology. They use metal through the tips. You see they take it out towards the center to reduce some weight. This is what they did when they replaced it from their sheets of metal in order to reduce the weight but keep the responsiveness and that edge control that we know from Volkl and that smooth ride. They also use their 3D radius through the ski, so depending on where you're arcing or putting the pressure on the ski, you're going to get a different radius. So in the tips and the tails, you're going to be able to get a longer turn radius, and if you get it really on edge underfoot, you're going to be able to do some slalom turns and make some quicker turns.
Yeah, you can really flex it into short radius turns. But, you know, when we were talking about this ski, it may have sounded like we were just like ragging on this ski. It's just demanding, and it just requires a pretty skilled athlete. I'm just going to use the word athlete, not even skier, because when you're skiing these Kenjas, they're pretty darn demanding, and you have to be pretty active and pretty engaged with what you're doing. But a high-level skier that wants edge grip, stability, power, all that stuff, you know, a lot of the skis on this wall don't have that. If you're like a high-level woman skier, and you want to go fast, and you want to just rip carving turns, you don't want to worry about edge grip, you don't want to feel like you're going to wash out, you don't want any limitations, this is a really good ski. Just, you have to remember what comes along with no limitations is kind of on the other end of the spectrum. It's like not particularly good at slow speeds. You know, you kind of have to like get it up to speed before you really start to feel its true performance. So there's limitations kind of on that end of it in the sense that you need to be pretty aggressive and ski it pretty fast and engaged. If you're just like looking for a cruiser to kind of ride and not think about how you're skiing, this isn't really the ski. There's a lot of other skis that will work for that, but this and the Stance and even like the Santa Ana, they kind of require a more engaged skier.
And I'll back that up by saying this used to be my one ski quiver. I love the Kenja. In the East Coast, it's a great, strong, aggressive ski. But as I've learned more about skis, I've wanted to approach a different ski because it really is cornered into that aggressive, fast skier who wants to just carve.
Yep.
Where there's a lot more skis on this wall that will do that and more without being as demanding.
Yeah. So it's nice to have. Like it would be terrible if skis like this went away. But they're less versatile in the sense of who can ski it and the enjoyment that you're going to get out of it.
And the terrain.
Yep. So yeah, that's it. 2 Volkls to end with. Hope you guys enjoyed this comparison. Allie, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to do another one. We'll probably move up into like 100 plus women's skis, which will be really fun. Something that we mentioned in the men's side of things is kind of as we go up in width, we see a little bit more variety in shapes and all that kind of stuff. So going wider, there's sometimes more to talk about, which will be really fun to do. So look out for that in the next couple weeks. And gosh, in just a couple weeks, fingers crossed, we'll see you on the slopes.
See you later, skiers.